Hi guys, welcome to the Clover Academy. We are going to set up RabbitMQ cluster in Kubernetes using Kubernetes cluster operator, and we are going to build a microservice in Spring Boot, and then we are publishing the message from RabbitMQ console or management console, and Java will receive the message, right? That's what we are going to do that now. We are going to cover this session. So let's get into the session, guys. Thank you. Hi guys, welcome to the Cloud4 Academy RabbitMQ cluster setup in Kubernetes, right? How we are going to set up RabbitMQ cluster in Kubernetes, right? So Kubernetes cluster operator is there for setting the RabbitMQ cluster setup. So cluster setup we can set up in multiple ways. RabbitMQ cluster setup we can do in multiple ways, like we can download the Kubernetes and Erlang, we can download the RabbitMQ and Erlang, and then we can go to the virtual machine and GitHub URL. Using GitHub URL we can download that and we can set up the cluster manually, or we can set up the cluster using Docker image, Docker Compose. We can use that to set up the cluster, right? RabbitMQ cluster, but I'm going to use Kafka cluster, Kubernetes cluster operator for setting the RabbitMQ cluster, right? So let's get into the session, guys. Yeah, I'm going to start the Docker. We need to install a Docker in our local in order to use that. So Docker I have already installed, so we can start a Docker, and then we have to install Minikube. So I have covered in the previous session how to install Minikube, like install Minikube, install Minikube, install Minikube, Minikube on Windows. So install Minikube. So this is Minikube installation, and then if you want to install Docker, you can give it Docker install on Windows. So it will give us steps to follow the steps and install that, right? So these three things we need to install it in our local, and then I have once we have set up the cluster, we are going to deploy the microservice, Spring Boot microservice into the cluster, and we are seeing once we publish the message from RabbitMQ, how the microservice receiving the message, we can see that. Okay, so I have started Docker is started. I'm going to start the Docker. I'm going to start the Minikube, right? I'm going to this folder, Spring Boot Innovation Students. Here I hosted the scripts, so I'm just going to start that Minikube. Minikube is a single cluster node, as I said, right? So cd, it can be any directory, but scripts are hosted in this directory. That's why I'm going here. First Minikube start. If we give Minikube start, it will start the cluster, single cluster for Kubernetes. Once the Minikube is set up the cluster, and then on top of it we can deploy our RabbitMQ cluster operator, and then set up the cluster for RabbitMQ. But RabbitMQ, I'm going to use only one node, because if I deploy multiple nodes, due to space issue, it will not be started. It will go to pending state. So due to that, I deployed only one node actually. So anyway, that's a cluster only, but only single node actually. So I will just going to open the Visual Studio. What is the scripts we are going to deploy, right? So it's opening. So consumer upload. Here I just RabbitMQ cluster. I created a YAML file, RabbitMQ -cluster.yaml. So that will set up. So before that, once it is started, Minikube, I think Minikube is started. We can see Minikube is started. So first what we need to do, we need to role binding. So we have to install roles, cluster roles, permissions, everything can be installed. So for that we need to follow these steps. kubectl apply -f GitHub URL cluster operator. We have to use the cluster operator. If you run that, it will install all RBAC rules and everything. So it is installed, and then I am going to deploy the RabbitMQ cluster YAML file. So I was just already open RabbitMQ cluster. This is a kind name is RabbitMQ cluster, and this is a version, and then app name is RabbitMQ and cluster IP. So this is a normal additional plugins, RabbitMQ management, and the RabbitMQ peer discovery. And then these are the additional configuration. What are the password? If you want to configure default password, we can configure here, and we can configure here, and all the default configuration we can give. Once we done that, then save it, and then we are going to deploy this YAML file, so that cluster setup, RabbitMQ cluster setup will be ready. So here I want to show you one thing. Here the replica is only one. If you want to multiple nodes like 5 nodes or 3 nodes, we can set up here. If you set up 3 nodes, then 3 RabbitMQ server will be started. If you set up 5 will be started. But I set up only one node because of the memory issue. Local, I just set up only one node. So I'm just going to deploy this script, right? So kubectl create -f script name. So this is a script name. Just copy it, and then I'm going to step the name, enter. So now cluster setup is ready, so we can just view that kubectl get PO. If you get kubectl PO, still is init status, it's not started, it's started, it's initial status, initial. It will take some time to start this node, right? So cluster setup is initiating, and then I have already built a Docker image. This is a simple microservice called Spring Boot microservice. I just used not much changes, even application.property, just override only port number, and then one consumer I have written. So this consumer will receive the message from the RabbitMQ. And I'm publishing the message from any of the source, it will receive the message. And queue name is Cloud Arivalagan. I just put it. So you can give any name. For example, I'm giving Cloud for Academy Q. I'm giving this name. So this name we have to create the queue name Q, and then RabbitMQ listener attribute, it will listen the message automatically. It's a simple Spring Boot application just for receiving the message, but 100+ configuration we can do for RabbitMQ while writing the actual code actually, because based on the use cases we can configure multiple things. But since it's a just demo session, I just simple listener I created. So this will listen the whenever RabbitMQ publishing the message, this will receive the messages. And then RabbitMQ configuration, component configuration, and then connection property. These are the connection changes. So RabbitMQ is a service name. We have to give the service name, because if you have if you launch 5 nodes, means 5 pod will be started. Sometimes 6 pod will be started. So sometimes 3 pods will be started. We don't know, right? So we should not give the pod name. We have to give the service name here. Service name, there will be only one service name there in the Kubernetes. So that's why I will tell you how to get the service name. So on port number and virtual host and user ID password. That's it. It will initiate the connection, right? So now I'm going to check kubectl get PO. See, started. RabbitMQ server started. Pod is started. So cluster is ready. So now if you want to see this SVC service name, so this is a service name, RabbitMQ. Others are deployed like Cloud DevOps, Node.js are there, but we can remove this. If I want to Node.js, we can remove these two things. I can remove this kubectl delete SVC DevOps. It will delete it like the Node.js, because this application I already deployed. So we can just copy and remove that. Now if I go to get SVC, 3 nodes are there, Kubernetes is not there, node is there. So RabbitMQ is a service name. We have to copy this service, and this service name we have to give here. So this is a service name to connect the RabbitMQ server, right? Service name and password, user ID, and port number 5672 is a default port number, right? So this is how we have to connect it, and cluster is ready. Now I'm going to build a microservice. Microservice how to build, right? I just created a Docker file. Docker file is under target directory. It says JDK7 Alpine. It's a base image, and jar name, this is a jar name, target directory, consumer, what is the jar name is cloud for DevOps. So here consumer, right? So we have to use this jar name, target directory I kept. So consumer jar name, this is jar name you can give, and then this is a Docker file. There are two Docker files there. Maybe we can remove this Docker file. First Docker file I can remove this. I remove this. So I'll keep only one Docker file which is under target directory. So this is a jar name which is build, finally which is build. Let's say we have to and then these are steps for Docker image, to build a Docker image. So we have to create a jar file, right? This consumer jar. For that, what we need to do, we have to go build and package. So it will package the jar. Name is consumer -0.0 jar will be created. Build and create the jar. So this jar we are going to create as a Docker image. So you know Docker image, right? Docker is a containerization which is going to ship and packaging all the dependencies and launching the containers, right? So now we build that. This jar is built. This jar I have mapped in the Docker file, right? I'm going to build a Docker image. I'm going to the Docker hosted directory here, and then I'm going to start. I'm going to the target directory. Here I'm clicking Docker build -t cloud for academy RabbitMQ. Just kill that. It will, sorry, error is coming. The first name must be lowercase. Sorry, should be lowercase. MQ. It's building the image. Build that. Now Docker images. I'm going here. RabbitMQ Docker image. Copy this image ID, and then what I'm doing is Docker tag ID, and then Docker ID. You can see to say Docker ID, and then we have to copy this name of the image. We have to copy, and version number v19. So image is tagged. I'm going to push the image to the Docker hub, Docker registry, right? Push. It's pushing that. In the meantime, I can just copy this image, and then I can go here, consumer workload. This is a microservice deployment file. So to deploy the microservice, right, we need to create a Kubernetes deployment scripts, right? So the scripts I already created, 81 cloud, and the only thing is I'm going to just change this. Port number is 8081, and this script is a deployment script, cloud DevOps, and so these things still same. Then normal steps we need to follow that. I think image is pushed to Docker hub. So if you see the Docker registry, we can see this Docker image. Okay. Now the image is pushed, and Docker, that image name I have copied here. This image name. You can see the Cloud for Academy RabbitMQ v1. This only one change I have just updated, and then we have to go and we have to deploy this image. You have to deploy this microservice. kubectl apply -f, and name of the scripts. This is a script name. Enter. Yeah, it's created. We can check now. Get PO. So it's creating container. We are giving logs, and then check that logs, container name, pod name. Yeah, sorry, some error is coming. So what is error? Sorry, queue is not created. That's why it's coming the error. So what you can do is pod is running, but queue you have to create it, right? So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going here, kubectl get svc, minikube is use service, start the application. So RabbitMQ is a service, right? Just I'm starting this application. RabbitMQ service will started. Yeah, I'm going to copy this second one URL, and then because RabbitMQ management console we need to open. RabbitMQ management console is opening, already is open. If you want to open again, we can give guest is user ID, guest login ID, and then come here. You can see overview. There are no connection, only one cluster, one connection, single cluster information. Connection not initiated, channel not there, exchange, these are the default out of the box exchange types. And queues, there are no queues are created. I'm going to create a new queue. Name is, we have already given name of the queue is Cloud for Academy queue. So I'm just going to copy this and add queue. Now queue is added. Okay, and I'm going to publish the message from here, from RabbitMQ. Hello Cloud for Academy. So now what we did is we have deployed our microservice in the RabbitMQ cluster, and then Kubernetes cluster is running now. Cluster environment or microservice is running, and is going to receive the message from RabbitMQ cluster, right? Hello Cloud Academy. Publish a message. There's no disable. Published. Okay, message is published. Now I am just going here. Get PO docs. I'm just going to see this. Yeah. Now application is started. RabbitMQ. So process. I'm just going to welcome to the Cloud. Welcome to Cloud for Academy. Message is published. Message is published. If you want to see the message, you can see. See, two messages are there. Getting messages, get messages. Queue is empty. It's empty. Okay. Okay. Now, if you see this, you can go here and we can check the logs. See, the message is received. Received message from RabbitMQ. Welcome to Cloud for Academy. The message is received. So we have set up the cluster, RabbitMQ cluster, and then we have deployed the microservice, the Spring Boot microservice. That microservice is receiving the message from RabbitMQ server. See, if you want to, let's say, another message, you can just launch that. You can go here. Cloud for Academy is the best academy for students. This is a message I am going to. This queue is Cloud for Academy queue. I am just publishing the message from the portal management console. So this message is published. If I go here, it will be received. We have to just open the log. See, Cloud for Academy is the best academy for students. It's received, right? So message is received. So this is how we have to set up the cluster and receive the message. So microservice, right? So very high level. I just using cluster operator. I set up the RabbitMQ cluster, and then I created a Docker image microservice for microservice, Spring Boot microservice, and then deploying into cluster in the same cluster, and then microservice was up, and then I am just publishing the message from RabbitMQ server from management console, and the message is received. Consume the message by the Java. Spring Boot microservice is receiving the message. So this is how we have to set up the cluster. If you want to set up multiple nodes, we can set up, but only the issue is due to the space issue is, let's say I want to do 5 nodes I want, or 3 nodes. Let's say 3 nodes. You can give 3 nodes, and you can go to this. You can go here. RabbitMQ cluster. First you have to delete, and then we have to apply create. So now 5 nodes will be created. If you see 3 will be created. Get PO. See, only one is running. only one node is started because rest all will not be started. See, only one node is initiated. Even though I give 3, it is initiating only one node. Where is the location? Spring Boot student. Sorry, not this one. I wrongly cluster 3 node. I'm giving 3, and then I'm going here. I'm going here, delete, and then create. To create. Now if I see for, it will be 3. Oh, 3 terminating. I think it will come now. See, now 3 nodes are clustered. 3 nodes are running. Not running, it's pending state, but 3 nodes are created. RabbitMQ server 0, 1, and 2. And the main important thing is, we should not give the pod name here. We should give the service name. To connect the RabbitMQ server from microservice, we need to give the service name, SVC. This is a service name, RabbitMQ. This service name we have to give in the microservice. Connection, where is the connection configuration? Here we have to give. This is very important. Port number, and guest is the user ID password. Default user ID password, which will /. That's it. So this is how we have to set up and then connect the RabbitMQ server. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching and listening. We are looking forward to join your Cloud4 Academy. Thank you.